Hello, everyone. You're listening to Baby Steps, sponsored by Oxford and Soho Baby, a podcast dedicated to exploring the personal and emotional journeys of parenting. I'm your host. My name is Medea. Today I have Rachel, lactation consultant and child passenger safety tech, and mother of two. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course. So, we're going to start with something called the Fast Five, where I ask you five questions back to back and you answer with the first thing that comes to your head.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Biggest pregnancy craving.
The center of a square cut pizza.
That's so specific.
I wanted nothing to do with crust. And in Chicago, where I am, they have tavern style pizza, and I just wanted the all cheese squares in the middle,
That sounds so good.
right? Yeah, I would like the
Wow.
pizzas would be just naked in the middle. I would just destroy them.
That's a good answer. Which is worse? You run out of diapers or you run out of wipes?
Ooh, diapers.
Diapers. Okay, that's what I think too.
Anything
Because
can be a wipe if you put your mind
yes,
to it.
yes. Diapers, you can't really create them out of nothing.
Not
One word to
me.
yeah. One word to describe labor and one word to describe parenthood.
Unexpected for both.
Yes. That's
Um,
a good one.
yeah, yeah. I
Favorite. Oh, wait, keep going.
I don't
Sorry.
know. I was just gonna say they both shocked me in different ways.
Yes, you can prepare as much as you'd like, but nothing really prepares you for it.
Nope.
Mm. Favorite baby product you can't live without?
That's a toughie. I mean, as a CPST, I have to say car seats.
That's a good one. Yeah, you can't go anywhere if your baby's not in a car seat.
Exactly.
That's true. Most unexpected joy of motherhood.
I think just the little sweet moments. My daughter is 8 and kind of growing out of being a baby, and she'll still like be cuddling with me and turn around and just like kiss my arm. And I'm like, oh my God, I grew you.
Oh, that's so cute. That's how you know you're doing a good job.
That's what I hope. Sometimes I don't know, but the little kisses. And also, can I add one more?
Of course.
The hilarious things they say.
Yeah, they're so
Uh,
out of pocket.
my 4-year-old has started saying, "Oh my gracious."
Where did they learn that?
I don't know. Is he listening to like country music? I have no idea. And then my daughter used to call sunscreen sunscream
Oh, sunscreen.
and
Okay.
jeans jeans. And I just thought that was the funniest thing ever and the cutest.
It's so pure because they don't know that they're saying it wrong.
No, it's the best.
That's very cute. On to the questions. So, what are some tips for lactation?
The number one thing I wish I could tell moms who are interested in breastfeeding or pumping is to get started before baby gets here. Take a prenatal breastfeeding class, identify a lactation consultant you want to meet with. Almost all of that's covered by insurance because I think a lot of moms are really worried about the labor and delivery. And then they get to the hospital and they expect that they're going to get all this one-on-one time to learn how to breastfeed, and they don't. And it kind of, those first few days are really important. And I've seen a lot of things go south because they didn't have the education needed. So definitely prenatal education is like the big one for me.
So, what can they teach you if you don't have a baby to latch on to? Like,
Mhm.
what can they teach you beforehand?
That's a great question. So, in my prenatal course, I talk a lot about obviously like the physiology, how milk is made, what impacts milk making. We cover like medications or breast surgeries or anything that might hinder a milk supply. We talk about what to expect those first few days because baby only needs a few drops of colostrum, kind of that early milk, and your body has been making that milk since 16 to 20 weeks pregnant. So that milk is already in. And I'm using air quotes because in it's like already been there. So there's this concern that because you don't have copious milk, which transitions between day 3 and 5, that your baby's starving. And then people panic and they get formula. And like, there's nothing wrong with formula. I'm so glad that it exists in this world if people want to use it, but it's not often indicated that early. And I just wish moms knew how much baby needs, how colostrum works, what it takes to get your mature milk in to sort of really lay the foundation for a good breastfeeding relationship and supply.
So
So,
the baby doesn't really need that much.
oh my God, no, they need like drops the first few days. By the end of week 1, their stomach is only like the size of an egg.
True.
So we really don't need a ton. And by then, in theory, your milk is in, again, in, it's already been there. Um, and I just wish people could trust their bodies and their babies more, instead of rushing to other alternatives. And then another thing we practice or talk a lot about in my prenatals are positioning. Um, what are some good positions to use? How to elicit a really good, nice deep latch and a nice deep gape from your baby. And also just like what to expect, what it feels like, what's wrong, what's not wrong, um, or I guess what's normal versus abnormal. Um, and just sort of other strategies, hand expression, using your hands to get the milk out. All kinds of things we can talk about before baby gets here.
Okay. So what is normal for breastfeeding and abnormal?
So it's normal for a baby to be really sleepy and fall asleep at the breast those first few days. Being born is really hard. It's normal for there to be a little discomfort at first, especially if you've never breastfed before, but it shouldn't be prolonged and it shouldn't last for more than a few days. Um, it's normal for babies to poop every time they breastfeed. Like it's normal for one breast to make more milk than the other. So there's all kinds of sort of nuances that come with breastfeeding that I think we don't talk a lot about. And then things that we don't like are like severe pain, bleeding, cracked nipples, low tone babies. So babies who are really struggling they're just kind of floppy. But also really high tone babies, really tense babies, sometimes being born, or the way they were in utero can create all kinds of tension and discomfort. So that can harm the breastfeeding relationship. Sometimes babies are injured during birth, and we have to make accommodations for that. So if they have a wound on their head from vacuum suction, we have to look at different positions that might not aggravate that part of their head. But also we have to think about jaundice because there's going to be some bruising and some extra blood getting kind of pooled up there. So there's all kinds of considerations that we have to look at, and every baby and every body is different. So it's sort of knowing what to look out for.
Yeah, is it kind of like trust your gut with that, or do you think you need a professional to help with this?
I think our culture has gotten really far away from understanding and supporting breastfeeding parents. And so it is critical and very helpful to have a lactation consultant or someone like that to validate and support and to help build confidence, because there are other things we look at other than just weight gain, which is what a lot of kind of doctors look at. They look at, oh, has baby reached birth weight by this certain date? We look at the number of diapers. We look at how much they transfer during a feed. We look at demeanor. We look at all kinds of things to determine if baby is getting enough, again, air quotes. It's just really hard to innately trust yourself and your baby because both of you, especially if you're a first time parent, don't know what you're doing.
Hmm. Yeah, it's your first time doing it, and it is natural instinct, but also it's not.
100%. Yes. So it's biological, it's
Hmm.
natural, it's not, it doesn't come to you easily. It's not instinctual. There are an amazing number of instincts that the baby has just fresh out of the womb. I mean, they come out, if left to their own devices, babies can crawl to the breast and self-attach. But we've gotten really far from that kind of birth. And we've gotten really far from just letting a baby hang out on mom's body and crawl their way up to the breast. They propel themselves up slowly, following the sense of smell. Um, and that's like deeply ingrained in their biology. We add in all these pillows, we add in all these socks and mittens and snooze and swaddles, and like we add all these things that actually kind of dull a lot of those senses for the baby. And then women and parents have gotten really far from we don't see other women doing it. So we
Hmm.
don't know what it's supposed to look like. We held our dolls, you know, really high up here. We dumped a bottle in them. That's how we fed our baby dolls when we were growing up. That's not how we want to feed a baby. We don't want to waterboard them, you know?
Yeah.
So it does sometimes take a bit of a almost like encouragements to tap into what feels good, what feels natural, and often it requires just kind of removing a lot of that excess stuff. Like I think nursing pillows have their place, but a lot of the times I just throw them away and I say, we don't need this. Let's just nurse. Let's pretend we don't have any of this stuff and let baby attach and let mom recline, lean back, get comfortable, and let baby attach themselves tummy to tummy. So it's every baby's different, every mom's different, but we've just gotten really far away from what it could be.
Yeah, there's all this stuff confusing the baby, confusing the mom. You're right with the pillows, the blankets, everything. So, yeah, I think a lactation consultant is very helpful. I know I'm gonna have one. So, yeah, that's cool. What are some benefits of breastfeeding?
Oh my God, how much time do you got? Um, Again, I don't want to bemoan. I'm so glad we live in a world where formula exists. I'm so glad it's an option. I have a lot of moms asking which formula is most like breast milk or which one's the best, which one's the most natural, which one's the healthiest. And I just say they're all the same. The only difference is marketing, um, and price. And often like some of them use different kinds of protein, but again, they're all very similar. Breast milk is not, you cannot replicate it. If you put breast milk under a microscope and introduce a bacteria, you can see it actively eating and attacking and neutralizing bacteria. Um, it's a living thing, and formula isn't. Breast milk, um, its composition changes as babies needs change, so they'll never need more than 3 to 5 ounces. Whereas with formula, the bigger baby gets, the bigger the bottle gets to meet their nutritional demands. But the breast milk for a 9-month-old versus the breast milk for a 1 week old are completely different makeups of carbs and fats and proteins and minerals and all the macro and micronutrients. The ratios are totally different. The milk also changes by the time of day and the time of year. So at nighttime, that milk has more melatonin to help baby go to sleep. I mean, it's constantly changing. So I mean, just in and of itself, breast milk is this like magical thing, and I can't believe our bodies can make it. And then there's just a lot of research that shows there's a huge decrease in asthma, ear infection, just like general like bugs that you might get, especially if you have another kid who's bringing stuff home from school, because breast milk has all of your antibodies. And then once baby starts getting a little sick, your breast milk ramps up some production of that more of that antibody-rich milk to give baby to help them recover faster from any sort of sickness. So it's like miraculous. There's been lower rates of obesity with breastfed kids. And then something that's really important is that early milk colostrum, while it's very limited in volume, it's really thick and rich, and it coats the gut of a newborn and it protects their really really like sensitive stomachs from all kinds of things. And studies have shown there's like I don't want to butcher this, but there's a huge number of cases of something called necrotizing enterocolitis, which is very dangerous for babies, and it's almost exclusively in formula fed newborns because just it can like it just their guts aren't protected the way that colostrum protects those babies. So, I mean, I'm going to stop, but like breast milk is truly amazing. And again, I'm glad the alternatives exist, but there's no replicating something like that.
Yeah, you said it best. It's magical. It can
It
do
is.
so much. But then for the mothers that aren't able to, thank goodness there's formula for them
Mhm.
because otherwise, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's also formula. There's not just formula, there's also donor milk.
Oh, true.
So here where I live, we have a very large milk bank with thousands and thousands of ounces of donor milk that moms can get a prescription for. We also have a local pharmacy where they can pick it up without a prescription. So donor milk is always an option, um, but it's just kind of lesser known, and it's obviously differs wherever you are with how much there is.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was an option.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really cool. A
Interesting.
lot of moms with oversupply donate their milk. Some bereaved mothers continue pumping to help other babies, which is amazing of them.
Hmm.
And a lot of the milk goes to NICU babies, preemie babies, babies that really need that kind of milk. But it's not it's not, it's hard to get, but it's not impossible.
True. What affects milk supply?
Oof. Um, so when I do a prenatal or I do an initial consult, I ask a pretty extensive medical history, and that's because there are a lot of things that can affect milk supply. So, hormonal imbalances, PCOS, um, thyroid challenges. I mean, breast milk is controlled, the production of breast milk is controlled in the brain by all kinds of hormones. So, a lot of people are, oh, I have small breasts, I'm not gonna be able to breastfeed. Has no bearing
Hmm.
on your ability to produce milk. If you tell me your breasts are maybe they didn't grow during pregnancy, or maybe they're kind of tuberous and don't have a lot of breast tissue, like then we kind of think about a hormonal issue that might come into play, but not all the time. Breast surgeries, but not all the breast surgeries. So most women with, I actually just did a reel on this. Most women with implants can go on to have a perfectly fine breastfeeding relationship. When we start talking about a reduction or any sort of breast surgery that cuts into some of those nerves that tell the brain to make milk, then then you might not have a full milk supply or you might not be able to make any milk. But here's the cool thing about bodies is that nerves regenerate. So I've seen women who've had what's called a periareolar incision all the way around their nipple, and they've severed a fourth intercostal nerve, and they have a full milk supply because time happened and their body just regrew those nerves. So breast surgeries is one of them. Gestational diabetes. Some people will say obesity, things like that. I was technically obese while breastfeeding, had a full milk supply. It's possible. Like everything's hot. It's just we talk a lot about, or my instructors would tell us a lot about. Let us let the mom and baby prove you wrong. So let them show you what they can do, and then you can start going from there. And sometimes there's like you can have a tumor on your pituitary gland, and that can impact your. I mean, there's all kinds of things. You have to. It's a whole body. But then you also have to look at the baby, right? So the baby could have oral restrictions. They could have low tone. They could have cleft lip, cleft palate. Like there's those things, and they can still breastfeed. There's just again, they can impact the ability to remove milk, and being able to remove milk leads to more milk, which makes your milk supply. So it's all we have to look at all kinds of factors. It's very nuanced.
So almost everything affects your milk supply. What is what it
Yeah,
sounds like.
a big one is stress.
Mm,
Cortisol levels when they spike. And guess what? Moms are pretty stressed out.
yeah.
So, so stress is a big one that we don't talk a lot about. Pressure, stress, anxiety, all of that.
And then do medications also? Like, let's say you're taking an anxiety medication, does that affect it?
It shouldn't.
Okay.
There's a whole long list of medicines that are compatible with breastfeeding and ones that aren't. Um, I would rather have a mom have her anxiety under control than her not take her anxiety medications. So some drugs are contraindicated with breastfeeding, just in that there's not enough research, which is usually the case, or it just has a smaller molecule that can transfer into the milk, and we just want to make sure that all medications are being kind of reported. I think that's in people, oh, I forgot I'm taking this, or oh, I have a cold, I forgot I'm taking Sudafed, but decongestants dry you up, right? So they might dry up your milk too. Like, um, if someone is on the wrong dose of a thyroid medication, like that can affect things. But some medications have absolutely no bearing, and some do. It's just that's why you got to talk to your doctor and your lactation consultant.
True. Wow, I just learned a lot. Um, moving on to car seats, because I also want to touch on that
Yeah,
topic.
let's do it.
What are some important tips when installing a car seat?
It's a great question. When installing a car seat, you'll see these videos of people going like, "Oh, it's flopping around, it's moving so much, it's not tight. How do I get a tight install?" A lot of times people aren't testing the car seat's movement at the right place. So we usually ask you to take your non-dominant hand, so that's my left hand, and then you test at the belt path. So where the belt is routed through, not the front of the seat belt if it's a rear-facing seat, not the part over here. You want to look right against the seat of the back seat and you want to wiggle it there. If it doesn't move more than an inch side to side and front to back, it's a good install. They're supposed to flop around to protect the baby. So checking at the belt path where the belt is, but also making sure the belt's in the right belt path is a really good one. Because sometimes, so if you have a seat and you're rear facing, this part near the back of the car is where the belt path should be. But some people will route through here for a convertible seat. Um, and that's when the car's seat is flipped around for forward facing, it goes against the back of the seat. So sometimes we see seat belts just routed in the wrong place. Another one is the tether anchor on the back of forward facing car seats. That is probably missed 75% of the time. And that prevents a huge number of inches. Like, I mean, huge, 6 inches, 8 inches makes a really big difference in a car accident. So if
Mhm.
your car seat is anchored correctly, there's a strap that goes over the seat, sometimes on the ceiling, sometimes your manuals all say where to put that tether anchor for forward facing. But if you don't have that, then the car seat will move also along with the kid instead of keeping your child restrained and protecting their really delicate neck and head area. So tether anchors and belt paths, I think, are the two big ones for me.
Would you say a lot of people install them incorrectly?
I would say that, yes. I
Oh,
would
wow.
say, what was an example? I did an event this past, so every September is National Child Safety Week, child seat, whatever. It's a car seat week. And I did an event and I think I saw like 10 seats. And of the 10, nine were installed incorrectly. And the 10th one still, it was installed correctly, but had some aftermarket products that I can't recommend with it. That so all 10 had something wrong with them.
So how do people make sure that they put it in right? Like watching a
Mhm.
video or
I mean, it's boring, but you got to read the manual. And you have to
Mhm.
read the manual for both the car seat and your car because different cars have different rules. Like there's, I think it's Dodge maybe. You can't have a load leg on the floor of their trucks. You just can't. Um, Tesla, they have fixed headrests, so you have to know where to put the tether anchor on what side to route it around. Um, every car has different rules, and every car seat does too. A video is a good place to start or to supplement your manual reading, but I think a lot of people just throw them in there and hope for the best. And it just takes not that much time to familiarize yourself with your seat. But I think people just take shortcuts.
Yeah, and that could pay a price at some point if you do that. So, wow. Okay. So, reading the manual, watching the video, familiarizing with the seat and the car.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question. What advice would you give to parents listening right now?
I think the biggest one, it's very general. I think it's ask for help. Ask for help with a lactation consultant, a car seat tech, your partner, your family, your friends. I think it's really easy to sort of get really insular and alone, especially when you have a baby. And I think just asking for help and building a community and not turning to like an anonymous Facebook post on a mom's group, um, if you can help it. And this comes back to like mental health, maternal mental health. Also, if you don't feel good and you don't feel happy and you feel like something's wrong, talk to your doctor. That's another form of asking for help. There's no shame in getting help, because I see a lot of moms in a really vulnerable state, and I wish that I could help them more. But really, it's hard. You have to advocate for yourself.
Yeah, it's hard asking for help because you want to do everything yourself. You want to be a superhero, but it's just not realistic.
Well, and we're comparing ourselves to someone else's Instagram, and you see an influencer who's snapped back and makes 1 million gallons of milk every day and, is beautiful and has their makeup done. And that's what we're seeing as an image for motherhood. And that's not accurate. I think a really great thing I've been hearing a lot is don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle.
I love
Um,
that.
because it's a season. It's a lot of seasons strung together, but every season gets a little easier.
This is true. Yeah, and just comparing in general gets you nowhere.
Nowhere. And it gets you further from trusting your body and your baby, which is my whole thing.
True. Trust your gut, trust your baby, and don't compare.
Yeah. And get help when you need it.
And get help when you need it. That's all we have for today. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Rachel, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
You've been listening to Baby Steps, sponsored by Oxford and Soho Baby. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.